Immersive technology, namely augmented reality and virtual reality, is no longer a distant concept. Now, with in-person interactions with brands out the window this pandemic, it has pressed a more crucial need for brands to replicate live brand engagements. According to Forbes, remote try-on capabilities will be one of the biggest tech trends to impact consumer marketplaces in 2022, and VR and AR are here to stay as they become the instrument to make this a reality. Today, we dive deeper into how these immersive experiences are crafted as we put the spotlight on Malaysia-based digital experience agency, Unicom Interactive Digital. Jareth Eng, the firm's Chief Operating Officer, will be joining us as we converse about how brands can best harness the power of AR. Greetings and welcome to MARKETECH Spotlight. Hi, Jareth. Welcome to MARKETECH Spotlight. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm great myself. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm very excited to talk about not just the story of Unicom Interactive Digital or UID, but also the current state and present trends in immersive brand experiences. So first, you're very well placed in the industry and are on a promising trajectory. So how did it all start and how has UID evolved since the firm began the business?
When I first got in, we were in a recovery stage, right? I say the recovery stage because it was a pandemic and we didn't know what to do, and businesses were adapting, And what we used to do was that we supported a lot of on-ground activations, on-ground campaigns. So if you had ever been into a road show or event before, right? You will be filled with lately there will be a lot of like games for you to play, touch screen devices. It keeps you entertained, right? So what we did back then was that we supported a lot of all these on-ground campaigns, and then the pandemic came. There was no calls for this kind of hardware, right? But the thing is, we had the skill set to build softwares, and suddenly there was an influx of inquiries like, hey, could you do this web-based campaign for us? Could you build a digital site for us? And then we thought, hey, why not? We have the skills, right? We have the tools, though it was not something that we were familiar with back then. But there was no reason that stopped us from trying. And since then, right, we just went like full force ahead, trying out, testing out, finding out what works, what doesn't work, and we just kept fine-tuning our process, and that's how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, there have been so many changes in the new normal, and UID has not been spared of these challenges. And I think this is a really interesting transformation from UID, providing brands with on-ground activations, and now you're pivoting to digital activations and web experiences. So that's something that we want to learn further and something that we're going to talk more about as we go through the conversation. But right now, I want to learn more about the space of immersive technology at large. And I think you're the perfect person to be able to share this. So can you tell us about the latest trends in gamification, in augmented reality, virtual reality, and why do you think brands should start looking into this?
I think in the past year itself, the amount of R&D that went into the AR space was immense.
Yeah,
AR has been around. Augmented reality has been around actually since I think in the 1960s. Surprising, right? Like 50, 60 years ago, this technology was already there. But it wasn't until I think it exploded in 2020 when the pandemic first happened, right? Mostly because of the physical barriers, right? And brands could no longer have consumers going to them. Your brick and mortar stores, your retail shops are suddenly empty. So you had to think, oh man, how am I going to show them my products? So augmented reality provided a way for the consumers to still experience a product, to still be educated, to have a sort of a experience with the brand. It's a good place for you to have to give out personalized content, to give out educational messages, right? And the most important thing is AR is no longer restricted by app base. So if you think about AR, you would think about, oh, I have to download an app. We are no longer restricted by that presently. Anybody with a smartphone, with a camera on the smartphone, you can enjoy AR content based on something that we call web AR, right? So perhaps maybe I can show some examples later on. And the beauty of web AR is that you don't need to download an app for ease of accessibility for marketers.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. You've shared so much insights already at this point, and I think you couldn't be more right. There has been so much growth in the space of AR, and actually that's really interesting that what you've said earlier, that it actually started in the 1960s. So that's new information. So for those brands that want to explore immersive technology, how can UID help these companies? So how will be the journey? How will be the journey like? So if I'm a company or a brand, what would be the process and the collaboration be like for this kind of project and undertaking?
I don't want to sound like I'm trying to push push us, but I think one of the things that we have done really well is simplicity, right? We keep the process simplified. As former marketers ourselves, right? Because we used to support on-ground campaigns. We know the pain that goes through all this, the pains that marketers go through. And we talk about simplicity because we do have a lot of inquiries that come in. And I think one thing that puts us ahead on the edge of our competitors is that we don't throw all this technical jargon to you, leave that all out, right? We keep things simple for you. We just let you know. All you have to do is just let us know your idea, and then we will give you a digital solution for it, right? What's our process with brands or with marketers that have no idea what to do, right? We just tell them, why don't you share with us what you used to do pre-pandemic? What worked for you, right? What are your measures of success? Yeah, correct. What is your measure of success for on-ground campaigns? And then let us think about how we can then digitalize it for you. The last point, I guess, is that UID, it's probably more, we provide insights. Again, as former marketers ourselves, we know the type of metrics that you need for improving customer retention. We know the type of metrics that will eventually make sense in driving new sales. So our dashboard is simplified, but it's not simple, right? So we have filters for you to look through, and we give you the important data that makes sense.
I actually want to dive deeper from there and learn further how your team does it from end to end. So can you tell us about this one project that you did and be able to walk us through from the conceptualization into the end result?
All right, so this is actually a simplified site that we did, right? And we branded UID because I think this was actually featured on one of your newsletters a few months ago. And the reason why we got featured is because how we simplified the entire process. And what I mean by simplicity is because if I'm a user, right, and I land on this page, I click next, right, and then I just register. As a user, you want to have restore metrics, and we allow marketers to then decide what type of information that they want. So earlier you saw in the sign up page there was a name, email, phone number. So it's up to you, right? It's up to you to have the fields that you want. And then as a user, I go in, I click play now, my instructions come out, right? And then I'm ready to go, and whatever campaigns that you have, messaging, you can put up, right? And this is really a process simplified. You pick the game and you get the rewards accordingly, right? And the reason why we say this is a simplified process, because this is the flow. You go from registration, playing the game, right? And then to claiming your prize, right? And after you click continue, a mailer is sent to you, So this is one of the very simplified process that we made. But of course, you want to keep your users more engaged. There will be a larger element of interactivity to it. This is a very streamlined, broken down process that we have made. Something else which we really did
Playroom,
Playroom 2.0. It's for Unicom Marketing Group, which is actually our parent company, and they focus mostly on marketing activation, brand activation, and stuff like that. And this site is actually done in what we call a VR format. As you can see, you can turn around and see. So we provided the different solutions for them, a whole segment on augmented reality, face analysis, smart face analysis, because right now you can't go anywhere without having a temperature check, right? So face analysis, that's in the element of reading your temperature as well. It's also important for on-ground crowd control, right? We have our automated engagement, which is the one I shared with you earlier, where you can just log in, everything is automated. Crowd analytics is something that we have been working on for the longest time. Crowd analytics is where we are able to read how many people are in a certain area based off their cell phone signals. So you don't have to, you don't have to have someone over there manually counting or have this event I had 100 people, 200 people. A deployment of our crowd analytics beacon, and then we are able to provide you how many people came here and at what time and stuff like that, right? So and then there's this part on breakthroughs where they shared videos. But let's quickly just go into the AR portion, right? So if you see over here, all you have to do is just scan this QR code, okay? And you will be redirected to the web AR link. And if you scan on this marker, right, you will get an promotional educational message. So what happens here is actually when a brand, right, they made use of their merchandising inside the supermarket. So if you go shopping and you're walking in the aisle and you want to find out more information about this milk product by a sender, so all you had to do is to scan your QR code and then scan this marker is in there. So this marker is the actual milk tin, right? So you're looking at the actual milk tin. Then you get a story by telling you, your growth and the nutritional facts that come in. So this is one way that brands try to keep themselves interactive.
So thank you so much, Jareth, for walking us through. It's such an eye-opener. It's really interesting to be able to really get into how you guys develop the gamification and the web experiences. So that's really great. Before I think I've learned so much from you, from your thought leadership at this point, and really learn more about the story of UAD. But before we let you go, we actually want to be able to know what are your tips for brands, because getting into AR is one thing, and being able to collaborate with an agency like you is another. So those are two different things. So what are your tips for brands to be able to successfully be able to implement and deliver these experiences with agencies like you?
So personally, based on the different campaigns that we have ran, right, on what we have seen successful and what we have deemed as failures, the common factor among successful campaigns all goes down to their content, and more importantly, personalized content for consumers. So we've increased accessibility to digital assets, right? People like you and me, we can easily access at our fingertips, information that we want, and more. Let's be honest. We start to get bored of the same stuff, and we start to look for something that I will call authenticity in content. Because there's so much paid advertisements today, so much paid endorsements. We reach a point where we do not know what's being shared is real or not, right? So authenticity in content is very important. The other part which we saw has a common factor, I would say, would be infrastructure. When I meant infrastructure, it's a bit more on the technical side, because right now consumers want information at the snap of their fingers. If I tell you, if you are running a campaign based off a QR code, right? But if I'm a consumer, I scan the QR code and then I'm waiting I'll be like, okay, no, forget it, right?
Yeah.
But if I scan it and it loads and I, oh, okay, so it's a matter of milliseconds that you will lose someone, a potential customer, right? And this is why infrastructure is very important. I think the third thing is partnerships, right? Finding the right digital partner is very important. We could be a good fit, we could not be a good fit, right? It all goes down to the chemistry between brand and agency. Okay, so finding a digital partner that understands what your brand is trying to achieve is going to be key, right? So as a company that was born out of delivering on-ground campaigns to the digitalization of campaigns, right? UID is actually in a very peculiar position in bridging traditional marketing norms with digital touch, right? So I'm not saying that we are the best, but I'm saying that we have learned the lessons. And the last part for brands that want to start, I think, relevancy. No one can deny the perks of having a digital touch to your marketing campaigns. You know, it was tried and tested so much in the past, I think 18 months during the pandemic, and there's so much good points from it. Even as we head back to the normal where we used to be, digital elements will still play a huge part in our lives moving forward. So to stay relevant, brands really have to start exploring this route, and especially in a personal opinion would be that the AR space is making so much headway right now. It's going to be a good time to just jump on this, keep your consumers engaged.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Jareth, for those great pieces of advice. You mentioned a good mix of technical and useful insights. So that's authenticity, personalization, and also being mindful of the technical factors like the having a good infrastructure, so which are equally important. But I think the most important, I think what struck me most is AR being the future, because that's where the engagement is, and that's where brands should really invest in. So thank you so much. So before we go, for those brands that are interested to reach out to you, so how can they contact UID?
You can just reach out at our website at uid.asia, and then you'll be redirected. There's a contact information there, and we, I mean, as a tech company, we definitely are easily searched. Right? So,
yes, of course.
Yeah. So it's
just go to the website.
Yeah.
So there you have it, our MARKETECH Spotlight on Unicom Interactive Digital. So once again, our guest, Jareth, and the Chief Operating Officer of UID. So if you're a brand or organization watching and you also have a story to tell that you want to put a spotlight on, please email us at spotlight@marketech-abac.com. So this has been Shaina, and until the next episode.